Today on Fast Food Face Off, we're doing the stuffed crust pizza review. Let's crush some calories.
Fast food, face off! Fast food, face off! Fast food, face off!
What is up, Tasty Vibe Tribe? You guys voted on Instagram and we heard you. We had it between stuffed crust and quesadillas, and by a narrow margin, stuffed crust won out. It's a big thing right now, pizza, because of March Madness going on. Before I get tucked into this, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications, make sure to smash that like button, and share this video around so that we can stay growing the Tasty Vibe Tribe. Enough of that, let's see how this tastes. So much cheesy goodness, so little time. So let's just dig right in, guys. Pizza Hut, the OG stuffed crust. First bite. Pizza Hut, you know them. You either hate them or love them depending on, who your fast food pizza chain is. They were kind of the OGs when it came to stuffed crust pizza. I'm sure not in the entire pizza world, but as far as bringing it to the masses, it's the OG for a reason. I mean, the crust itself is nice and crispy. It's buttery. The cheese is pretty well balanced between the rest of the bite. It is salty, but it's not a salt or sodium bomb by any means. For me, I like to eat it this way. I know that there's people out there that they go crust first, especially when it comes to stuffed crust, but I'm gonna kind of just stick with it this way. So there's a good amount in here. You can actually feel it in the weight of the dough. I'm curious to see how this stacks up against Papa John's interpretation of stuffed crust. I feel like with Pizza Hut, the cheese that they put inside of their crust is slightly different than from the cheese they put on their pizza. It almost has like a string cheese, kind of like paleo cheese vibe as far as what's in there, as opposed to kind of just a shredded mozzarella on top. And for me, I appreciate it if that is the case, because it does kind of give a differentiating effect between what's in the crust and then what's on the pizza. Really tasty. So I learned my lesson from the last few times that I've done pizza, in that I'm gonna kind of just hit you guys off in the commentary, because sometimes I talk a little too much, which makes this much harder on me as far as the timing of everything. But if I have anything to drop in, it'll either be through the commentary or just, regular through the camera. I'm gonna see if I could just kind of make my way through the rest of this pizza. I also got some of the sauces from Pizza Hut, which I've done with their regular pizza sauce, but not their actual garlic sauce. I'm curious to see how that stacks up with this, and also against Papa John's garlic sauce, which is the OG. So this was my largest pizza challenge to date. There was about 5 pounds of pizza here, which is insane. It was a crazy amount of crust and cheese. I mean, it was delicious, but I was definitely feeling the effects afterwards. Now that I'm about halfway through, I know that I've said this before with Pizza Hut, but I actually do enjoy their sauce. I think that the marinara is really nice. It's a little bit of a change up. It's not quite as salty as some other fast food chain pizza places. It's a little bit sweeter, and it has kind of like a herby freshness to it. And I think it's what separates Pizza Hut fans from people who don't like Pizza Hut. Because as we remember from their commercials, nobody out-pizzas the Hut. Seriously though, everything that I've gotten from Pizza Hut in recent memory, from the stuffed crust that I'm eating right now to the Wing Street wings I had a few weeks back, has been exceptionally good. Kudos to Pizza Hut for stepping up their game. Now if we can just get a dessert pizza, I'd be all set. I'm not gonna lie, the garlic sauce from Pizza Hut is much better than I thought it was gonna be. It's like a slightly thicker version of the one from Papa John's. This is more like a aioli. There's almost like a mayo base to it, and it's really good. It almost seems like a nugget sauce, like that kind of thickness, and it complements the pizza really well. So I just had a great idea. What if I went to the big 3 pizza chain stores and got their cheesy breadsticks and all of their dipping sauces to see which one is the best? If that sounds like something you guys would be interested in, let me know down in the comments section below. So I gotta say, really tasty. First impression from Pizza Hut as far as the pizza being cooked well, the flavors being well balanced, the sauces that they have. The only thing that I maybe wish could have been done a little bit different, which I think you can actually customize with a lot of these pizza chains now, is to maybe have this just cooked a little bit more done, just because I like a little bit more crisp to my pizza. But other than that, really, really tasty.
Anyone who's been a subscriber of the channel for a long time knows that me and Mrs. Fast Food Face Off are big food history nerds, which got us thinking about doing a small separate segment on just fast food history. If that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure to smash that like button and let us know down below in the comment section.
Next up is Papa John's. So this is the newcomer to the stuffed crust game, which really does beg the question, since you have Papa John's and Pizza Hut both having stuffed crust, where is Domino's in all of this? But I just wanted to mention again, if you guys aren't following us on Instagram, please head over there and give us a follow. This challenge was voted on by our Instagram followers. That's why I'm doing it. We're also doing some cool stuff for March Madness, so you'd be missing out if you're not giving us a follow over there. Let's get back into the pizza.
Seriously, Domino's, what's the holdup? We're all just sitting around here waiting for you to drop some stuffed crust. Apparently in the pizza game, stuffed crust is like the chicken sandwich wars.
So the pizza itself is pretty good. In my opinion, I just prefer Pizza Hut to Papa John's. Papa John's is a little bit on the blander side. I think that the cheese in the sauce is pretty good, but there's nothing that kind of jumps out at you. There's nothing that screams anything special about this. I don't want to beat them up too much before getting into the rest of this, but I think of the three, that Papa John's is probably my least favorite of the bigger three pizza companies. What all this is about is more or less the crust though, right? So let's see how this stacks up to the crust from Pizza Hut. So overall, there are things that I do like about what Papa John does with their crust. There is almost like a subtle sweetness to the crust that I think Domino's and Pizza Hut both don't have. It's kind of like when you get a good pizza from a pizza place, that when some of them use sugar in the actual dough, but that you can kind of taste just a touch of that sweetness, the same way that you can kind of get it from a touch of sweetness in like marinara if there's sugar in the sauce. It has a subtle sweetness to it, which actually balances well with the tanginess from their pizza sauce. I would say that it does feel like they kind of just use the same cheese that they put on their pizzas in their crust. And overall, I do think that the crust itself is a bit chewier, maybe than what Pizza Hut is doing. Your mileage is gonna vary depending on whether or not you like a chewier or a slightly crispier crust. I'm always a little bit more team crispy crust, but beyond that, really good pizza.
Anyone who's had a honey wheat style bread knows exactly what kind of sweetness I'm talking about. I think both of these companies just went at this from an opposite approach. Where Papa John's has a sweeter crust and a more savory sauce, Pizza Hut has a sweeter sauce and a more savory, buttery crust. Your mileage is definitely going to vary on this one.
Maybe it's just because I haven't had Papa John's garlic butter sauce in a long time, but I remember it being thinner than this. And now that I'm looking at it, it actually pretty much looks almost identical to the one that Pizza Hut has. Let's see how it tastes. Having both of those sauces, honestly, if you were to put them side by side in a blindfolded taste test, I don't think that you'd be able to tell the difference. They're pretty spot on. There might be a subtle difference in garlic, but they're pretty much the same. Kudos to both of these companies for making a sauce that's that good. I think I'm gonna switch up to soda. Little shameless plug for Dr. Pepper. They recently put out my favorite soda, which is the Dr. Pepper and cream soda in 0 sugar, and this is new, and it's amazing. For anybody who's a fan of Dr. Pepper or their cream soda, definitely treat yourself to it.
Anyone who's a subscriber to the channel, again, another reason you'd be missing out if you don't give us a follow on Instagram. I do weekly product reviews, and I also keep you guys up to date with my fitness and training regimen.
So I'm saving my crust for last just because it's easier to eat the actual pizza at this point and then kind of get around to having the crust than it would be to try to eat the whole thing, just because it's been sitting for a little bit and it's just a little harder to eat because it's at room temperature.
Got this pizza tip from the man himself, Randy Santel, over at foodchallenges.com. Thanks, Atlas.
Last slice. Once I'm done with this, I'm gonna slowly make my way through the crust. And once I'm done with that, we'll get into the final review.
You can definitely see this is when it started to wear on me. I'd have been able to do this a little easier if the crust wasn't stuffed with cheese, but sometimes you gotta pay the cost to be the boss. Now that I'm as stuffed as this cheese crust, let's get on to the final review.
Final review time. In my opinion, Pizza Hut stuffed crust is the OG for a reason. Your mileage may vary, but I do think that it is just better for a couple of reasons than Papa John's stuffed crust. Not that I think that Papa John's maybe isn't worth the hype, but I do think that maybe Pizza Hut just had a longer time being able to develop that recipe. There's just a lot of subtle things that are slightly better than what Papa John's is doing, in my opinion. You get a nicer, doughier kind of inside but crispy exterior texture. The cheese on the inside is more reminiscent, like I had said, of almost like a string cheese as opposed to a shredded mozzarella that's on the pizza. The balance of kind of chewy and crispy and cheesy, just it works with what the Pizza Hut stuffed crust is. Now, if you like a slightly chewier crust, a slightly sweeter crust, and are okay with it just kind of feeling like the same mozzarella that's on the pizza inside of the crust, then by all means, you are going to be a fan of Papa John's and order it if you like it. But I do think best bang for the buck as far as flavor and everything else, most people are going to more readily go back to Pizza Hut. That being said, we're going to have the calories and the cost for you guys like we always do. The calories, we can't give you a 100% accurate depiction of it because even though the stuffed crust from Papa John's has been out for a while, they still don't really have any accurate nutrition facts either through a PDF or on their website. Also, the cost is going to be slightly different here. One, because Pizza Hut has been doing this for a while, so it's not like a new thing that they have the stuffed crust. Papa John's is trying to actively promote their stuffed crust pizza, so they have a deal going on in my area where I got it for, I think, a better deal than what Pizza Hut is offering. But I do think once the hoopla and kind of like the hype dies down from Papa John's, the prices will probably be a bit similar. Thanks again for watching, guys. We always appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and smash that like button. And remember, you are what you eat. Always eat amazing.